Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It is True Crime Tuesday yet again, and today we will be talking about a girl who did the unthinkable to her disabled and defenseless older sister. Today we will be talking about Claire Miller, the teenage TikToker turned vicious murderer. Claire Miller was a 14-year-old girl who lived in an affluent neighborhood in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania with her dad Mark, mom Marie, and her 19-year-old sister Helen. Now, not much is actually known about this family before this incident took place, but based on what's out there, it seemed like this family really had it going for them. As I have mentioned, they resided in an upscale neighborhood, and both daughters also studied in respected private schools. 14-year-old Claire was said to be a good student and was described by her peers and teachers as someone who had a friendly personality. Now, she did fairly well in school and was also the co-president of her 9th grade class. When she wasn't in school, she would spend her time watching anime, playing games online, and creating videos on TikTok, where she reportedly had around 21,000 followers. 19-year-old Helen, on the other hand, also studied in a private school. She was described to be very bubbly, and people who have met her adored her, saying that she would light up any room that she entered. Now, despite being disabled and having been diagnosed with cerebral palsy very early on in her life, Helen had an extremely positive outlook on life. She was also a very talented artist, focusing mainly on painting and sculpting. Helen was so talented that she had actually won an award for one of her watercolor paintings. Mark and Marie worked extremely hard in order to provide their girls what they need and more. And from the outside, they seemed like a perfect, close-knit family. However, this all changed on February 21st, 2021, when a highly emotional Claire made a frantic 911 call at around 1:08 a.m., immediately confessing to the operator that she had done something terrible. Police and paramedics flocked to the Miller household immediately, and standing outside in the snow, they found 14-year-old Claire covered in blood. Now, she led the police inside of their house, waking up her currently clueless parents in the process, all while repeatedly saying, "I stabbed my sister, I stabbed my sister." She brought the authorities into Helen's room, and this is where they made the gruesome discovery of Helen laying in a pool of her own blood in bed, covered with a large pillow. Helen had received 7 stab wounds in total. 2 on her face, 1 on her chin, 2 on her neck, and the last 2 on her chest. Now, when the police officers took off the pillow that was covering her body, they were shocked to see that the huge kitchen knife used in the attack was still lodged into Helen's neck, as Claire wasn't able to pull it out due to how deep it went. Paramedics tried their best to revive and resuscitate the poor girl, however, they couldn't do anything to save her life. And at 4:13 a.m., 19-year-old Helen Miller was pronounced dead. The parents, Mark and Marie, were of course in complete disbelief of what had just happened. Their eldest daughter was now gone, and their youngest daughter was the reason behind it. Claire was arrested and taken into custody right away for interrogation. Now, reportedly, the police gave Claire some breakfast in the morning, to which she thanked the officers by saying, "I would have killed someone sooner if I knew I was getting McDonald's." And that very day, February 22nd, 2021, Claire Miller was charged with first-degree homicide. And although she was 14 and a minor, Pennsylvania law states that anyone charged with homicide over the age of 10 will be tried as an adult. Now, this case, of course, got a lot of attention. I mean, the perpetrator was a 14-year-old girl who seemed to have it all, while the victim was her defenseless older sister who she seemed to really love and care for. It was said that before the murder took place, Claire would often help her parents take care of Helen, even accompanying her to her doctor's appointments and therapy sessions. Now, these sisters have been seen around their neighborhood taking strolls as Claire pushed Helen's wheelchair around. So everyone was really shocked, especially in their community. Now, what fascinated people even more was the lack of motive and how there were no clear indications or warning signs. And this case gained even more traction once Claire's existing TikTok videos suddenly started blowing up on the platform and began appearing on almost everyone's For You page. Now, I did mention that before this whole ordeal happened, Claire had a following of around 21,000. But once she started popping up on everyone's FYP, she gained 11,000 more almost overnight before TikTok finally took her account down permanently for violating their community guidelines. Now, fast forward to July 2022, a Lancaster County judge ruled that Claire will be tried as an adult because the juvenile system would only have authority of her until she's 21. And that may not be enough time to rehabilitate the now 16-year-old. Now, her parents did try to beg them to have her tried as a juvenile instead because, according to them, they had already lost a daughter and they don't want to lose this one as well. Which is understandable because this is still their daughter. Now, upon hearing that decision, Claire was said to have been visibly upset, crying all throughout the proceeding because her being tried as an adult meant that if found guilty, she could possibly face capital punishment, aka the death penalty. However, the question still remains. Why did Claire do this to Helen? There is no clear motive, but the general public does have a few theories. Now, people say that Claire had possibly done this because she was worried about her parents' finances. And since Helen had a lot of hospital bills and therapy sessions, Claire found this as a way to get rid of that burden. However, I personally don't think that this is the case because, as I have mentioned earlier, the Miller family is pretty well off. Now, another theory suggests that Claire might have been jealous of the attention that Helen was getting from their parents. And as I have said earlier, we do not know much about their personal lives before the murder took place. So this scenario does seem possible. Now, another possible theory is that Claire just got tired of caring for Helen and she saw her sister's disability as a burden and just wanted out of this situation. Now, according to Claire's defense attorney, she suffered from a psychotic break caused by the stress of being bullied, gender dysphoria, the COVID-19 pandemic, and adolescent brain development. Now, they also said that the murder didn't seem to be premeditated as Claire actually had plans of attending school the next day, since she had already prepared her things prior to committing the crime. According to some sources, after preparing her stuff for school, Claire had decided to go to bed but was not able to sleep. She then started to have hallucinations and heard voices that degraded her, telling her to kill herself. Now, due to these hallucinations, she got up in fear, headed to the kitchen, and took a large knife and killed her hallucinations, only to suddenly snap out of it and realize that she had actually stabbed her sister Helen instead. Now, one of Claire's close friends also stated that behind Claire's seemingly friendly persona, she actually had homicidal and suicidal thoughts. Basically, she was curious what it would feel like if she murdered someone. In the meantime, Claire will remain in custody of the Lancaster Youth Intervention Center detention program until future court proceedings are scheduled. And honestly, that's all I have on today's case. But before I end today's video, I would like to give you guys my 2 cents on this because I've seen multiple people covering this case. And it didn't seem like they were taking Claire's side completely, but a lot of other creators have voiced out that Claire should be tried as a juvenile. Now, of course, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, so if you don't agree with me on this, that is fine. And it may seem a bit controversial, but honestly, I agree with the judge's decision. Yes, her brain isn't fully developed, but at 14 years old, you probably already know what's right from what's wrong. And she may not know everything yet. Heck, I'm already 28 and I still feel like I'm clueless most of the time. But at 14, you should know that killing someone is very, very wrong. And yeah, maybe she did have a psychotic break and it was the first. But who knows if and when she'll have another one. I personally think that she was curious about how it would feel to take someone else's life. And sadly, she decided to act on this curiousness and she did it to poor Helen. And although her TikTok account was taken down, a lot of her videos were reposted by other users. And you can clearly see in these videos that this girl was very angsty and had a lot of dark thoughts and interests. But, you know, that's just my personal opinion. And I really want to hear your thoughts on this case and on that decision. Do you think Claire Miller should be tried as an adult or as a juvenile? And what do you think her motive was? So if you're down for a healthy discussion regarding this case, please do not hesitate to leave a comment down below. Also, should there be any other cases that you would like for me to cover, please let me know as well. And yeah, I guess that's where I'll end today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys next week.